Good morning, everyone. My name is Iceman. Welcome back. Um, this is, I guess, the part two. I don't really want to call it that, but I guess it's part two of what we did last night. So, um, basically, oh shit, let me get rid of this. Oh crap, Jesus, it's all this shit. Okay. Um, and this is gonna be way less lengthy than the last one, because the last one was very important. This one is also important, but it's not as much information as last. It's probably half. So I'm gonna go to the gallery here, and basically I'm gonna be explaining who these these two characters are here, who these are. Essentially, is what I'm gonna be doing. But there's three. Before we do that, there's three things that I forgot to mention last night, which I apologize, or forgot to clarify. Um, and that is one, uh, the Gothic Elsa. Um, remember how last night, last thing I talked about was um, uh, that if she decides to bind back her queen state into, her ultimate state, um, when I was saying that if she does that, she will then have a complete soul again, and then have that complete gift of immortality. That's true. But I forgot to mention one other thing. If she decides to get rid of her queen state and combine that part of her soul back into this, making it 100% a complete soul again, not only will she then fully have the complete gift of immortality, but she will also get her ice powers back completely. So that's what I forgot to mention. So if she takes the queen state and combines it with this state here, her gothic state, her alternate state, I really should be saying the terms, her alternate state, if she combines her queen state with her alt state, she would then have a complete soul and have the complete gift of immortality and have her ice powers back directly. So if she completes her soul, she's literally that higher being. Can do literally anything. Literally. Like anything you could imagine, she would be able to do. I mean, I guess if she's limited to anything, she's limited to your imagination of, what could possibly happen. Even the stuff that's abstract and not even stuff unthinkable, she can do. She can literally do anything. And fun fact real quick, this is the first ever Photoshop project I ever did. So it's getting some hits, which is pro 200 hit. Oh shit, okay, that's surprising. Fuck, I didn't think I'd get that much. Um, so that's that. So if she combines her queen state back with her alternate state, she will have the complete gift of immortality, like I said last night, and she will have her ice powers back directly, so she would be able to literally do anything she wants to. Alrighty, so she would literally do anything she wants to, and so that's one thing. The other thing is crap. Oh, the other thing is last night when I was talking about when I was explaining how that other ritual where Elsa would be vulnerable to death, I'm just gonna say keep in mind that she's only vulnerable to death if her soul is split into two parts. If her soul is complete and there is no second state, if her soul is complete, then you know, literally, like I said, she can do anything. She would be completely immortal. There's no way she would possibly die. She would still feel pain and emotions, but she won't be able to die at all. And then, okay, so that's that too. Oh, actually, I still didn't say what I was gonna say. Shit, I just realized that. Okay. So remember that. And then what I want to say is, I just want to say that, just to clarify, Elsa has never been required or had the need to actually strip anybody of their godhood or immortality. She's never actually had to do that. Thankfully, because everyone's been behaving. But she's had to strip people of their magic before, temporarily. But the stripping of immortality she's never actually had to do, so she never actually had to go through that ritual. However, she assures me that she knows. She assures me that, you know, she knows exactly what that ritual will do, and that everything she told me about her being vulnerable to death and all that stuff, and you know, her going to sleep for 1 to 12 hours, and her, you know, her being completely immobilized or whatever, is accurate. So she assured me that all that information is accurate. I don't know how, like, I mean, I honestly don't know how the hell she can say that she knows all of it, but I mean, I believe her, so I mean, like, she knows somehow. Beats me. But yeah, so she's never actually had to strip anyone of their immortality before. And she also said that when she if she has to strip someone of their immortality, once the entire process is complete, basically once the entire process is complete and the immortality is stripped from the person, Elsa will wake up. Like literally, she will wake up. She will awaken. So I mean, she said that during the ritual, she looks as if she's sleeping. Like think of it like Sleeping Beauty. Okay, Aurora. She looks like Aurora essentially. She's just asleep in a hibernation. Um, both of her states. She's asleep in her hibernation. And when the ritual is complete, she'll wake up. And she also assured me that the ritual would never fail, ever. There's no possible way the ritual could fail. The only way it would possibly fail is if, while she's doing the ritual and is asleep, someone kills her. So someone comes to where the area she's sleeping at and stabs her while she's asleep, or, or whatever, okay? That's the only way the ritual would fail, and then if that happened, who the hell knows what would happen to the entire universe. Bad. That's all I can say. And one other thing I'm going to say is, she said that if she ever needs, she told me that if she ever needs to actually strip someone of their immortality, she essentially would set up a plan first. But essentially, what she would do is she would make sure that both of her states, her queen state and this state, her gothic state, are both in the same area, both in the same room or place or whatever, both in the same area, very close to each other, and essentially she said that she would identify where her other state is so that there can be guards there, let's say. And keep in mind, no one can see her other state. Depends which one she decides to show. But as far as the actual ritual itself, she needs all of her power. So she, whenever she does the ritual, she said she will always be in her gothic state when she does the ritual, because that's where all of her power is. 80% of the power is here. And keep in mind, if she tries to use the other state for the ritual, that only has 20% of the power. And keep in mind, the queen state can't harness, can only harness a very limited amount of energy from the gothic state. So she would always use her gothic state. So, and keep in mind, if her soul was combined into one, again, she wouldn't need to go through a ritual at all. But that's if she decides to get rid of the queen state. So that's that. Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. So this guy here. Meet James Loris Shepard, everybody. Meet James Loris Shepard. So, Mass Effect character. Okay. Okay, so this guy is essentially my second state. And I forgot to say that last night. You know, aside from Elsa having two states, I have a second state, and that's this. But I am the only other being in the entire universe who has a separate state. Like a complete separate state. And that's this. So, you know, Elsa has two states, as you know, and I have two states myself. I have two states myself, so, and this is my other state. And frankly, my first name is James. My other state's name is also James. Just have a different last name and shit. So yeah, so that's that. And then and he's not a clone. He's another state altogether. So he's independent. He is mortal as well. So he needs to be careful. Again, like it's the same thing, same idea with Elsa. This guy is essentially me. It's my other being. It's my other part of my soul in the Narcissus universe is this guy. So essentially, I would be right now. I would be the equivalent of the Gothic state of Elsa, and this guy would be the equivalent of Elsa's Queen state. So I would be the 80%. This guy would be the 20%. Yeah. So that's who this guy is. And yeah. So that's that. So this is my alternate state here. This is my alternate. Sorry. Right now, I would be essentially the alternate state. Like I'm the actual. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, this guy's my alternate state, but essentially I'm the one who's in control. So I'm the higher power over this over my other state here. So this guy's my other 20%. My 20% missing. And in reality, you know, he essentially, the difference between you know, me and my second state, so this guy, and Elsa and alternate Elsa and her queen state, is that my second state here, my alternate state here is we share the same powers at equal levels. So we can feed off each other at any time, and it doesn't do any damage. So if he needs to use magic, you know, he does not need approval or anything like that. He can just do it. And if I need magic from him, which I really wouldn't need to because we both have the same magic, really. We have the same magic. Both of us. Right, yeah. We both have the same magic. Which is ice, by the way. So we freeze things. That's all we can do is freeze. And remember, we're not immortal, so we are not considered we're not technically we're not considered as gods, me and my second state here in the Narcissus universe. But for some weird reason, Elsa she classifies me and my second state as a god, even though I'm mortal and I can die. I do have powers, but I mean, I do have powers, but like I'm still mortal, so I can still die. And it's funny. I don't know how Elsa would think that why she would classify me as a god, because I'm mortal. But I don't know. She might have a thing for me. I mean, if that's true, I wouldn't complain. I'm not gonna complain. I mean, she's hot as fuck. Anyways, back to this. So, yeah. So let me just read this real quick. And I say the Narcissus agreement. There. I don't know. This is like essentially some of this is a little bit incorrect. It's outdated for sure. Look, it's outdated. It's like a year old. Jesus. It's only, 2 days can be a year old. But this is pretty outdated here. Essentially, so let me read this here. So the background information on. Yeah, that's the top. Okay. So the current Earth year. So this is another stretch of the Narcissus universe. So within the universe, there is also this. So this is a little bit of explaining my two states. And one thing you need to be aware of too is I, by myself, do not have the power to. Basically, I will always be in the Narcissus universe. I will always have two states. I won't be able to combine Shepherd into myself to complete anything. Okay, I mean, we will always just be two states of each other. So, unless Elsa decides to change that for some reason, but anyway, so in the Narcissus, from a different perspective, the current Earth year is 2125. So this is this. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the current Earth year is 2125. Commander James L. Shepard, James Loris Shepard, a current 24-year-old. So, right now he's. Well, yeah, current. Okay, yeah, currently 25. He enlisted in the United States Marine Corps, USMC, at the young age of 15. I sure as hell didn't do that, but he did. As of now, Earth and many other extraterrestrial alien species are going through the Eternal War. So there's a war going on. The Eternal War does not have an exact definition, but is believed and propagated across the ESS, Earth's solar system, and the rest of the Milky Way galaxy, that it is such a war that never actually starts or ever stops. So it's essentially like a war kind of with the Narcissus idea. It's a war that's been like going on for fucking ever. So that's essentially what that is. Technology has advanced almost to the unimaginable level for humans. They are now, so humans in the Narcissus universe are now known as TCSs, or technologically compound species. So all this means is that the humans are now technologically compound. Earth's inhabitants now vary between the humans and other more complex alien races and species. With this, the aliens and humans formed an agreement to become allies and share each other's military-grade weaponry. This agreement was known across the universe as the Narcissus Agreement. So it was a form. It was basically acknowledging, the aliens and the humans were acknowledging that, both knew that each other understood that they were in this universe and they needed to become allies. So if you want like a basic profile information of my second state, name James Loris Shepard, soldier. So essentially what this is basically the demographics from the Mass Effect that I selected, basically. So he's a soldier, he's a commander, male, sexual preference women, age 25. Favorite music death metal. Okay, so he's kind of strict, but human, he's Asian, home planet Earth, eye color dark brown, short hair, black hair, and holy fuck, I forgot he speaks 12 languages. Jesus Christ. British English, American English, Russian, Polish, Japanese, simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese, Korean, Filipino, Tagalog. I don't think that's right. Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese. Jesus, man. I can't harness his language abilities, that's for damn sure. Jesus. Otherwise he was speaking in all of them. Asshole. Sometimes I hate my other state. To be a dick. I mean, he's respectful, but like I'm just jealous. Basically. Okay, so damn it. So that's him. That was who he was. That was my other state. And shit, where is it? Warm snow against the cool sun. I got rid of this, the story here, because it was completely false. So what the hell? No, fuck off, Discord. Jesus. What caused that to show up? The fuck? There's a storm. Okay, yeah, no, nothing there. See, I haven't looked at these in a long time, so I don't really know what's what anymore. Passive darkness. Okay, this is a little confusing, but let me read this. All right, so Elsa slowly formed a smile as she finally began to understand the true meaning behind her existence. So people might wonder the question, how, like, if Elsa is, like, where did everything completely start? Like Elsa herself was wondering about her own existence. Like the gothic version. The gothic version. Not the queen version. The gothic version. This one was wondering about her existence. Like, she just existed. And she, went on a quest, essentially, to find out, what actually caused her to exist and become a goddess and all that. Well, it's here. Elsa slowly formed a smile as she finally began to understand the true meaning behind her existence. The Narlik rune, which is the very nature of her emotions, passively shining through the door behind her, here, gradually emitted what's called the binding light, which is essentially a magenta colored aura that essentially signified the true source of her powers, of her black magic powers, which was something Elsa had repeatedly questioned several years before. So she basically went on a quest to try to see, like, how the hell am I, like, what am I, what's existing, like, how am I existing, whatever. What, you know, how did I get these powers? How did I get these powers? Essentially, in reality, that's unknown. But essentially, what is known as the Narlik rune is basically what created the goth, her. So, Elsa becoming a goddess and the most powerful goddess, and all that. That was given by this Narlik rune here, and it's not known. She doesn't know anything about the Narlik rune itself. She doesn't know, you know, how it became it began to exist. But the one thing she does know is that the Narlik rune is something that is literally completely indestructible. So, I mean, she does not have to worry about any other dark black magic or anything. No, she doesn't have to worry about anything trying to destroy it, because nothing can destroy it at all. I mean, Elsa herself can't even destroy it. You know, her being the most powerful goddess, the highest up, and her being the creation of existence and all that. Even Elsa herself, with a complete soul, with all of her power, even all of that, she will not be able to use. She will not have the ability to destroy that rune. The only possible way that rune might be destroyed is unknown. Really, like, who knows? The only possible way that rune might be destroyed is if Elsa is split into two, and into her queen state and her gothic state, and she has to perform that ritual stripping immortality from someone, and you know, someone goes in the place that she's sleeping and kills her. That's the only possible way that there's even a slight chance that this rune could be destroyed. But no one knows. No one knows at all. So, and she's still not really worried about it, because she's, again, hasn't ever had to strip anyone of immortality. So, that's that. And I believe that's all I have to say. Okay, yeah, that's it. There's nothing there. Roman neutrality? Oh, yeah, okay. So, I will read this. So, this is like when Elsa was like younger and stuff. Realm of neutrality. So she says, "What is this realm? I don't understand. It's simply Beotius. However, there's part of it that just doesn't add up. It's like there's a dark secret hidden somewhere deep. But is there?" I mean, again, it's the realm of neutrality. It's like no one knows really. But this is kind of like irrelevant. And this is Demix, of course. He has nothing to do with the fanfiction. I don't even know why I'm looking at him. Yeah, okay. So, okay. So now it's DAZ characters. So, who are my DAZ characters? Ladies and gentlemen, please meet why am I forgetting her name for for whatever reason. Please meet Ashley. Okay, this is Ashley. This is one of my greatest DAZ hits. For whatever reason, I call it Sensuous Goddess. But I mean, I don't know. There is some issues with this render and stuff, but essentially the important thing here is who she is. So this is Ashley. Basically, she's a model essentially, and she's a 21-year-old model. She's a interestingly enough, she is a black belt in Bujinkan Ninjutsu. So you don't fuck with her, or she will literally kill you. So, yeah, she can be considered a weapon, but by many stretches. But she's a model, and she can sing, and she can sing, and she's wants to do music and stuff like that. As far as she's currently in college essentially, just like me. But she's currently in college, and she's studying criminal justice. That's what she's doing. She is studying criminal justice. But she doesn't have any powers, or she's not immortal or anything like that. Even Elsa doesn't, she just sees her as just another human being. So, she doesn't really keep a close eye on her or anything. So she's just a college student, really. So that's Ashley. I want you guys to now meet. Is there? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Meet Katelyn. So this is Katelyn here. So Katelyn, Elsa looks after. Elsa knows Katelyn, and Katelyn knows Elsa, and vice versa. Okay. Katelyn and Elsa are extremely close as far as friendship. They're close, and they themselves are like sisters, even though they're not related at all. Katelyn here is she is a goddess. Katelyn here is a goddess. So she is a goddess, and Katelyn is immortal, for one exception. For one exception, and I'll get to that. Soon. I'll get to that soon. But Katelyn here is much like Elsa in the sense that she's immortal, but except for one exception, and she's a goddess and she has powers. Katelyn's power is black magic. So her power is black magic, and everything in between black magic. So that, and essentially there's basically a hierarchy of power, as far as like a tree of You know, at the top is it's like kind of like a pyramid, if you will. It's a triangle, but basically what it is at the very, very top is the most powerful of all, which is Elsa. And the next highest is Katelyn. So Katelyn in the Narcissus universe is the second strongest goddess there is at all. So if you want to look at it as a hierarchy, Elsa is up here. Katelyn is here. So here's Katelyn. Here's Elsa. So Elsa's still at the very top. I don't know if you can see this, but Elsa's still at the very top. So Elsa still has full control and everything. Elsa's up here. Katelyn's right here. And if you think about it, if Elsa is like the master of everything, this is close. Katelyn is close. So Katelyn's here. Elsa's here. And where do you think Anna is? Elsa's sister. Funny enough, Katelyn is stronger than Anna. So here's Elsa, here's Katelyn, Anna is down here. It's down here. So here's Elsa, and here's Anna, like down here. Here, let me, this is really tough to do, so I'm with my hands. So let me, here, I'll draw something on the screen for you, so you guys can see. So look at this here. This is essentially the hierarchy. So Elsa's at the very top. Elsa's at the very, very top. Katelyn is, really high up there, really close to Elsa. And then after her, Anna is like down here. So essentially, so Anna's like down here, and then below Anna, way below Anna, are the Greek gods and like Thor and stuff like that. Even Loki himself is, even though I love Loki and I think he's a badass, even Loki himself is down there below Anna. But in the Narcissus universe, Loki is stronger than Thor. So I'm not going to go too in depth because it will just keep going on and on and on, naming gods and goddesses and shit, and that'll just be boring as hell. But basically, there's three primary goddesses. So, and they are Elsa at the top, highest. Katelyn a little bit, a little bit lower. And Anna at the bottom. But Anna's still considered one of those higher powers. And one of those one of the highest goddesses. And then below Anna, then is, below Anna is like the other stuff. And you might be wondering, where am I in the god tree? I'm not really in the god tree because I'm not a god, really, technically. So I don't have a place there, but I do have a place in the magic users. And as far as the magic users, just solely magic users, I'm basically at the top of that tree. So this is Katelyn, so she's a goddess. She wields black magic only, and everything in between. She can essentially do what Elsa can do. She can basically do exactly what Elsa can do, but at a way more limited level. Like, you know, Katelyn is very strong. She's very, very strong, and she can get stronger. But, you know, Elsa is the ultimate highest, and essentially always will be. Although, it's interesting because Elsa's told me many times that, you know, she's actually, because Elsa and Katelyn are very close to each other, as friends, Elsa is actually a personal instructor. She's an actual instructor. She's training Katelyn. She's training Katelyn in the arts of dark magic. In the dark arts, if you will. She's training Katelyn in all of that. And she wouldn't train anyone else, really. I mean, especially in the black magic stuff. She doesn't train, you know, she's the only person she trains is Katelyn here. And they're very close friends, so it's, I mean, she's here. I mean, Katelyn's the apprentice, and Elsa is the master. And it's kind of funny and scary at the same time, because Elsa has told me sometimes that sometimes she kind of debates, but is kind of leaning towards she's leaning towards the idea of training Katelyn to the point where Katelyn and Elsa are equal at the top. Now, I don't have a problem with that. It's it's just to be cautious, because, like, you know, and what I mean by that is, like, Elsa or Katelyn would be basically where Elsa is, and could, if Katelyn ever goes corrupt at that point, she could essentially take over. But I tell Elsa all the time, just be very cautious here, because, you know, we wouldn't want any of that to happen. But she's kind of leading towards it, which is kind of scaring me a bit. But in all essence, Katelyn's a good person, so I don't see anything bad happening. But yeah, I still warn Elsa and wish her to be cautious about that idea, making a decision like that. So that's Katelyn, and Ashley, Katelyn, Ashley. So you get to know who's who. Katelyn, Ashley, Katelyn, Ashley, Katelyn, Ashley and Katelyn. Katelyn, Ashley. So Katelyn is Katelyn is the one who's, like, always goth. Okay. Let's see. All right, so let's just let me just surf through these real quick. Okay, so this is like a side fact to the story, stuff that's been happening. So I say Rain because that's what she is. Like I say Rain because of this. This is why. Because that's essentially her name. But Rain, so Ashley essentially no longer saw her purpose. So she was very, very depressed. Everything she knew about reality, time, fantasy, and love had been completely contradicted. Tears started to well in her eyes as she knows she'd been deceived. And it's got... Oh, fuck. People are actually liking that. Okay. Pitch Black. This is Katelyn. Is she good? Is she evil? Is she... Okay, never mind. I was... Alright, Soul's Touch. So, this is essentially when they meet each other for the first time. Basically, Ashley invites... She hears about Katelyn and invites her into her essentially her hotel. And, fuck. But it's very important to note that Ashley has no idea who Katelyn is, as far as, like, she has no idea she's a goddess, or anything like that. She has no idea she's a goddess. She doesn't even know magic really exists, or anything like that. She's not skeptical, but she doesn't... She just sees Katelyn as another person, just a close friend, or a friend. Like, it basically starts here. So this is where the bond starts. And then here's any story here. Okay, so this has some dialogue. So essentially, what's happening here? So let me rephrase this. Ashley says, "Easy now." Easy now, Katelyn. So I know it says easy now, Jen, but I'm giving their actual names. So this was like before I was, actually figuring all this out and stuff. So Ashley says, "Easy now, Katelyn." And then Katelyn responds, "This is extremely uncomfortable, Ash. I can't do this." And then, remember, Ashley is, besides a model, she's a ninjutsu black belt. So she says, "I know, I totally understand. It was nearly impossible for me when I first started. You can do it, Katelyn. Relaxation is key here." And how much it is? Oh, I actually got some comments. Oh yeah, this guy. Like, what the fuck? Like, how? Like, really? Like, really, dude? Come on now. Really? Like, it looks like she was holding her dick out. It's like, yeah, and I'm like, no, not quite. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. What the fuck is he talking about? All I can say is he's perverted as all fuck. And with that snarky comment, it's like, shit, man. I mean, yeah, you're the dick. Jesus. Big leagues. Alright, irrelevant. This one here. Okay, so their bond escalated to really close friendship here. Katelyn says, "You're the best, Ash." And Ashley says, "She's my Joan girl." So essentially it's like basic kind of comics a little bit. This is extremely important, this one right here. So, Keisha, I have not rendered yet. I have not rendered Keisha yet. No one has met Keisha yet. But I'm still trying to figure out what Keisha should look like. But I'm gonna make Keisha a goddess. I know that for sure. I'm also gonna make her immortal. So Keisha says, "Ashley has not yet found out about Katelyn. I fear greatly for her future and above all her life." So that's very important. So I titled this Black Witch because she does black magic, and essentially she's a witch. I don't know. This was really fun to make, so I have it in black and white. Okay, so essentially what happens is, the thing with Katelyn that definitely puts her separate, makes her separate from Elsa, like as different, is the fact that Katelyn has not fully learned how to control certain parts of her black magic, specifically the dangerous type stuff. So basically what happens here is that Katelyn, I guess, I mean, okay, so what happens here is, Katelyn goes through a phase where, you know, she kind of takes advantage of her black magic and says, huh, this is really cool. Imagine things I could do with this. So she's just getting like mischievous, and then next thing you know, that eager for mischief started turning into anger, and then she wanted to start controlling. So, you know, be in control. And I guess, I don't know, it's weird because Katelyn she's not a bad person, but when the black magic, when the dangerous parts of her black magic art starts to overcome her, it starts to essentially control her. And with those dangerous aspects of those dangerous abilities, with that also brings a dangerous, and also brings an because all this is like really evil type stuff. It brings an evil vibe to it and an essence with it. So if her negative emotions and her the specific parts of the black magic that are very, very deadly and destructive, essentially her ability to use the dark arts can overcome her, and if that happens, essentially the magic itself would control her, and really anything could happen. She would have essentially no control over herself, and essentially all the evil would be inside of her, and everything she'd be thinking is evil. So she'd want to do really bad, destructive stuff with the magic. So that's essentially what's happening here. She's going through one of these phases, and in this one it gets really bad and she's fully changed. So this is what she looks like when she's fully in that bad state. And essentially, you know, in this time she's having all those evil thoughts. I want to do this. I want to do this. Even though it's bad, I don't care. Sounds fun, or whatever, right? So, with those evil thoughts, due to the dark magic controlling her, the thought came to her that she wanted to kill someone, and the quickest way she could do that is to kill the person closest to her and that she has the easiest access to. Who do you think that was? Ashley. So essentially what happens here is really kind of sad. So it says Ashley suddenly collapsed, clutching her chest. Okay, so what happens here is, one day Katelyn goes over to Ashley's place, which is the hotel here. Katelyn goes over here, and they're talking or whatever, and during this time, Katelyn, in the back of her mind, the evil magic is telling her to murder Ashley, essentially. It's telling her, do it. And essentially it overcame her, and I guess when Ashley's back was turned, I mean, Katelyn went over to Ash, and again, she can't control any of this because she's being overcome and controlled by the dark magic she possesses itself. It's overcoming her. So that's essentially what's controlling her. So the black magic essentially decided to proceed with the kill, essentially, and attacked. So I don't know exactly what she did, but it was something very minor. Either it was just like breathing a really dark gas or something, or maybe piercing Ashley with a fingernail or something. I don't know. Who knows? Like, I don't know what happened. I don't really want to know. But essentially what happens here is the negative emotions and that evil drive to kill Ashley overcame her, and she attacked Ashley. And what happened was, once she attacked Ashley, the black magic that was overcoming her ceased to overcome her immediately. It ceased to overcome her, and all of a sudden she was having all these really, like, before, where is it? Shit, it's not in here. Like with this image here, you can see she's all like evil looking and stuff. Here in this image, she is not. Katelyn's not. And the reason is because once she actually attacked Ashley, whatever portion of magic that was controlling Katelyn stopped controlling her immediately. So once that was free, Katelyn could think clearly. Like, she suddenly was like, okay, like, it kind of didn't phase her. She kind of just did that, like, well, what happened, or whatever, right? Because she was in a totally different state before. She was in a totally different state, and what happened was, she was in a totally different state, you know, being controlled by her own magic, essentially. And once that ceased to control her and stopped controlling her, she was then back to reality, basically, with her, with, you know, normal mindset and all that. And essentially, you know, at that point, Katelyn didn't know and didn't realize anything happened until Ashley collapsed. Until this, okay? So once the magic kind of unbinded itself from her after attacking Ashley, once it unbinded itself, Katelyn wasn't alarmed and didn't know what was going on at all. Didn't think anything was wrong until this. Okay? So, you know, this is when, you know, this starts here. Okay? So, you know, Katelyn attacks Ashley and the magic unbinds itself, and, you know, Katelyn then has full control, and, you know, then, you know, then this happened, basically. So what I was just explaining was everything leading up to this here. So it says, Ashley suddenly collapsed, clutching her chest in agony. Startled, Katelyn's focus finally switched to reality. Once she realized what was happening, she was in panic. Because remember, she's in control of herself again. Katelyn, scared. Oh my god, Ashley, I'm so sorry. Something is very wrong. But Ashley cut her off, interrupted, whatever you want to say. And she's like, Ashley responds, "Shh, it's okay, Katelyn. In pain. I know the, or whatever, right? I'm really bad at fucking, whatever I'm trying to do. Being, I guess, enthusiastic. I don't know. I don't know. Katelyn, so she says this. Katelyn responds, "No, what, Ashley? Talk to me, please, Ashley." And Ashley says, oh, and here's another thing. Anything in bold means it's character speaking, usually. But Ashley responds, truth. I know the truth. God damn, I'm awful at this. Okay, so she's in a lot of pain. And then, Keisha told me. So, Keisha, is a goddess, and she's a friend of Ashley. Keisha's a friend of Ashley, but Ashley does not know Keisha is a goddess either. So Keisha told me, you are a good God damn, I'm terrible at this. A good person inside. Okay, this is really important. Ashley struggled to stay awake. Her breathing became extremely quiet and slow. Her body started to shake as tears welled up in her eyes. Ashley also says after that, you need to know I love you, basically. So Ashley basically said, confessed her love to Katelyn, and I'm not talking about, and this is not like, you know, really close love. This is like romantic love, okay? She's confessing romantic love to Katelyn. That she like is in love with her, you know. Katelyn said, Oh, yeah. God damn it. Katelyn was immediately shocked. All of her emotions rushed through her entire body like rapids. So, backtracking just a little bit, their bond got so close that both of them essentially fell for each other, but were afraid to say anything. Really afraid to say anything because they didn't want to get rejected. And Katelyn was very depressed. And it also kind of fed on her negative emotions as well. And Katelyn then hears from Ashley that Ashley loves her, and then for Katelyn this is like so Katelyn sobbing, Ashley, I love you too. Ashley, don't go, Ashley. Okay, so this here is the part where this is where shit gets like dark, essentially. Ashley slowly formed a smile and nodded slightly, meaning that she understood. So like, to let Katelyn know that she heard her and she understood what she said and she appreciated it, Ashley slowly formed a smile and nodded slightly. Katelyn responded by giving Ashley a slight kiss on her left cheek. Katelyn responds, I'll find... So, again, what Katelyn did essentially was a murderous act. So it would have killed Ashley, essentially. She says, I'll find a way, Ashley. I'll find a way to bring you back. I promise. Ashley gave one more nod. And then, unfortunately, every muscle in her entire body slowly relaxed simultaneously. And then she was silent. Meaning she stopped breathing and she essentially was dead then. So this image here is depicting basically this part up here. So this in blue here is essentially what this picture depicts. So the top part is what this depicts here. So after that, shit got really depressing, and this is the same thing but from Katelyn's perspective, and I'm gonna be legit honest with you guys, this is fucking hideous. Like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm keeping this up. Maybe I should just delete it. Fuck. Wait. Yeah. So there's a lot of irony in this image, and this is like a really stupid way of doing it, but how ironic is that Ashley is crying. Katelyn's act was just to kill her. Just to kill her quickly or whatever. But essentially this starts happening. Basically, Ashley starts crying, but she only sheds one full tear, which is essentially right here. One full tear. And basically, the other ironic part is the tears themselves, which are a dark essence that slowly started engulfing Ashley from the inside out due to Katelyn's physical touch. Okay, so that's what happened. That's right. I forgot about that. So Katelyn touched her, and that was enough to literally have a dark essence pretty much destroy her from the inside out, and she would feel every bit of it. however that may feel. Okay, so she essentially died, and this is essentially her body. Basically what happens here is there's a Narcissus crystal. Okay, the Narcissus crystal basically it's a crystal that is legendary, and it's unknown. Only a very strong black magic user can actually use that. Use it. The crystal, essentially, is the crystal itself is raw energy. And it's unknown what that energy is. And legend has it that the crystal here, this crystal here, I actually modeled this in Cinema 4D, by the way, but this is like a fucking pencil, but whatever. So the crystal actually has has unknown capabilities because it's pure energy. It can have one of two outcomes. The first outcome is that the positive outcome is that the crystal, if used, can bring a person back to life from death. It will dissolve into the person safely and securely and disperse itself throughout the body of the person, generating life because it's pure energy. It would either do that and generate life and bring Ashley back to life, or its sheer power would be too powerful to save Ashley. So and essentially, if the opposite happens and the crystal is too powerful to save Ashley, it will instead destroy Ashley. And when I say destroy Ashley, I mean literally destroy it. Like basically what it would do is it would essentially dissolve uncontrollably into Ashley, and basically the energy would be too powerful, and what it would do is it would essentially destroy. I mean, like, she's essentially already dead, but it, like, okay, so because she's dead, she has a spirit, right? If this crystal is proven to be too powerful to save her and bring her spirit back to life into her body, the crystal would dissolve and not only destroy her body and particleize it, literally particleize it, but do the same with her spirit. So essentially, whatever spirit is still lingering would essentially itself be destroyed. So in essence, if it goes wrong, then Ashley would not only be Ashley would not only be, completely dead, you know, um, and the body would be completely dissolved, or particleized, but her spirit would be rendered into nothing. And essentially the result of that would be that Ashley would essentially be non-existent completely. Like, her spirit would never arise again, first of all, but it would also, Ashley would never, she wouldn't even be Ashley. She would literally be rendered into nothing. So Ashley would become, like, Ashley that existed would become non-existent to the point where Ashley never ever existed before. So Ashley would never have existed before, and anyone who knew her, that's another thing, anyone who knew Ashley, who were friends with Ashley, they would essentially, if this goes bad, if this goes wrong, and Ashley's rendered non-existent, she's also rendered non-existent to anyone who knew her. So any friends she had or anything like that, they would never know that Ashley ever existed, even if the day before, Ashley was hanging out with them. Like, let's say the day before all this crap started happening, let's say the day before Katelyn came in to see Ashley, she was with her friend or whatever. If this goes wrong, then Ashley would be rendered non-existent from the past, present, and future. So if she's rendered non-existent and her entire soul is completely destroyed and rendered into nothing, as well as her spirit, then, the friends, the day before, yesterday, the friends she would hang out with, they would never know, they wouldn't know who she was. They would not know they even had a friend named Ashley. They wouldn't know anything about her. She would literally be non-existent to the entire universe. Thinking about that, but she'd be non-existent to the entire universe. No one would know who she is or that she even existed in the first place, except for the person who uses the crystal, which in this case is Katelyn. So if this goes wrong, Ashley would literally be non-existent to everybody except Katelyn. And the worst part about it is, if this goes wrong, Ashley would be particleized and what have you. Okay? She'd be rendered into nothing, and Katelyn would forever know that she had been particleized and rendered into nothing. Katelyn would remember that Ashley had been destroyed. So essentially, Katelyn would be scarred for eternity. That's fucking awful. So that's if things go bad. And if things go good, the crystal will dissolve into the body and essentially bring it back to life. So that's what essentially what this is. So what's happening here is Katelyn's determination to use the crystal had become overwhelmingly intense. She knew that the crystal's power could be too strong to bring her partner back, and that it could essentially cause her soul to vanish forever, like I was explaining. Katelyn's hand shook violently, even though she wasn't making physical contact with the crystal. Concentrating on her levitation, Katelyn took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and cast the spell of Morgoth. The spell of Morgoth is basically the dark magic spell that says to dissolve this crystal, and there's only one crystal. There aren't any other crystals, there's only one crystal. So the legend says. There might actually be more, but that's what the legend says, there's only one crystal. So Katelyn summoned the crystal, and she cast the spell of Morgoth, and essentially this happened, the awakening. So, good and bad news. Good news is, Ashley started to awake. Ashley was brought back to life, so that's the good thing. Let me say, alright, so Katelyn began, so what happened here was, it dissolved into Ashley, and for like 5 minutes or so, nothing happened. There was no sign of life, nothing. And it was puzzling Kate because it was one of two ways. Either it would dissolve and bring her back to life, or it would dissolve and particleize her body. None of that was happening for about 5 minutes. Turns out it was just working. It was working, it was just very slowly. So during this time, Katelyn thought she failed, and she began to mourn her beloved for fear of losing what was precious to her. Completely losing it. Several minutes went by after she cast the spell of Morgoth, and there was no sign of life within Ashley, like I just said. Katelyn says, God damn, Ashley, oh Ashley, my beautiful. Okay, this is awkward. Please, Ash, please wake up. Speechless and in despair, Katelyn raised Ashley's right hand, giving a slight kiss on her fingers. Her emotions manifested beyond anything she had ever felt before. Tears began to pour from Katelyn's eyes like a waterfall being fed by endless rapids. Katelyn says, I'm sorry, Ashley. I failed. I failed you. If you won't come back, then I will join you. Okay? So, yeah. Knowing there was only one way out, and it's probably the way you're thinking, Katelyn prepared herself for the worst. Summoning the Blade of Anguish, and I'll get to this after I read this. Summoning the Blade of Anguish, Katelyn began mentally preparing herself for the horrors that were to come. Taking in her last breath, she positioned the tip of the sword in front of her heart, ready to strike. Then, Ashley's eyes opened ever so subtly. And, do note that Ashley's head is turned to the left like this, right? You can see it's facing that way. Is turned to the left from her perspective. And so when her eyes awaken, she doesn't see Katelyn because she awakens like this and all she sees is the window. She doesn't see Katelyn there. She has no idea what's going on. So back to this, what is happening here is there's something called the Blade of Anguish, and this is what I was talking about before, where Katelyn is immortal, but there's one exception to that where she could die. She could die. And the only way she could die is essentially to commit suicide. That's the only way she could die. She would actually have to initiate it herself in order for herself to die. No one else and nothing else can kill her except for herself. If Katelyn doesn't want to be anymore, she can take the oath and essentially become non-existent. But she has to do it. So, the thing is Katelyn. So the Blade of Anguish, let me go forward to this one, which is actually done horribly. I hate this. But yes, this is a little bit further, but this is the Blade of Anguish. So what this is this Blade of Anguish meaning blade of pain. Okay, so what this is, Katelyn can use her dark magic to summon this blade, and this blade is pure energy, just like the crystal, but it's pure dark energy. So if Katelyn pierces herself with this blade, not only will she die, but she will particleize from the inside out alive. She will particleize inside out from alive slowly, and she will feel every bit of it. Imagine basically having each part of your body being rendered non-existent simultaneously. Actually, I think it's from the feet up, if I remember. I think it's from the feet up. So it goes from the feet all the way up, and she only stops feeling the pain when she's completely particleized, essentially. And she feels every little bit of it. That's fucking horrifying. And the thing about the Blade of Anguish, it's just like the crystal, in which there's two ways it could go. The good way is, if she pierces herself with it, she will die. She would die and particleize and be rendered non-existent. However, she will be able to see Ashley. She would be able to see Ashley again if the spell of Morgoth failed and Ashley particleized. So the good outcome is that if Ashley if the Blade of Anguish failed, or not the Blade of Anguish, but the spell Morgoth failed, and Ashley got particleized, Katelyn killing herself would essentially, she would feel every bit of herself being particleized, but when she's done particleizing, she would be able to form back in spirit, and the energy from the Blade of Anguish would actually be able to slightly reverse the spell of Morgoth, in the sense that it would bring Ashley's spirit back. Just the spirit. So in that respect, if Ashley had been particleized and rendered non-existent, only if she'd been rendered non-existent and particleized, and the Blade of Anguish went well, would both spirits essentially live on together. But if it doesn't go well, then basically what would happen is the Blade of Anguish would particleize Katelyn and form Catelyn's spirit back together, but not Ashley's. So essentially what would happen is, if it doesn't work well, Katelyn would be killed, rendered non-existent, what have you, and the rest of the energy, the residue energy from the blade, would just dissipate. after her spirit has been um, has been after her spirit has been, you know, recreated, essentially. Um, and the bad thing about that is, you know, she would realize that Ashley, she would realize that Ashley, um, you know, she basically would not be able to find Ashley and would be searching for Ashley, most likely for all eternity, depending on how much she actually loves Ashley, you know what I mean? Which essentially, she probably would search for her for all eternity with that, and she would for all eternity never know that Ashley never existed in the first place. Like, well, she knows she exists in the first place. She would never know that the spell of Morgan did not work. So essentially, she would be, you know, a restless, depressed soul for all eternity, unfortunately. That's if it goes bad. So, either way, though, even if it goes good, Katelyn still dies. That's the important thing. Katelyn still dies. So look what's happening here. Ashley notices that this shit's about to happen. She doesn't know what is about to happen or why, but she just knows with her gut that this is not good. She needs to do something, because all she knows is here's this fucking creepy ass blade emitting a really bright purple glow from it, illuminating the whole surroundings, and that she knows if that shit hits Katelyn, it's most likely gonna kill her. Regardless, you know, she's like, right now she doesn't care whether if she's actually seeing magic or not, because she still doesn't know that Katelyn can actually do magic until now, but she doesn't really give a shit because her main concern is saving her. So it's kind of like a thing where Katelyn saves Ashley, and then Ashley has to save Katelyn, like right afterwards. That's essentially what's happening here. And so Ashley notices, and basically what happens. And there's one thing I forgot to say. This I forgot to say, when she summons this blade and she begins this process of committing suicide, it's a special ritual called the Oblivial Ritual, or like Oblivion. Oblivial Ritual, that's what it's called. So right now she's in the process of doing the Oblivion Ritual Ready to Strike, which is pretty much second to last thing that happens. The last thing is complete particleization. So this is about to literally go down in front of Ashley. And the thing is when Katelyn doesn't, during this time, Katelyn becomes focused on the ritual and only the ritual. So, I mean, even though Ashley's like in here, like, you know, Ashley calls Katelyn several times, but there's no response, and the reason is because once the Oblivion Ritual is started, unless there's you know, physical intervention of some sort, unless there's some physical intervention, the focus is only on that ritual. So Katelyn at this moment is not even, she's not thinking about, you know, she's not thinking about, all she knows is she's gonna die, that's it. But she's like, you know, once you start the process, you have to go through it, unless it fails somehow. So essentially what happens here, noticing the blade of anguish suspended above her, its front tip offset from herself, Ashley immediately realized what was about to happen. Lunging forward, Ashley tried her best to signal Katelyn. However, Katelyn, ever so focused, did not sense Ashley's movements. Room was, and this is all like wrong, but as the room was pitch black except for a blinding purple glow emanating from the deceitful blade. Ashley called Katelyn's name several times with no prevail. This meant only one thing: the Oblivion ritual had already begun. And she doesn't know what the hell is happening. She doesn't know it's called the Oblivion ritual or anything like that. She doesn't know any of that. But essentially, like, she's like wondering what to do. So essentially, after that, this happens. It's just in time. So what happens here is, out of options and with less than a second to spare, Ashley tackled Katelyn, and this is like a really shitty way of really shitty image. I'm sorry, folks, but Ashley tackled Katelyn, hoping this would deter her mind from the spell's encasement, because again, the spell, the spell to, you know, kill herself essentially would take control of her unless there's some outside intervention. So Ashley tackled Katelyn as a last resort. Katelyn lost focus, which, with her mind finally deterred, sliced the Oblivion ritual into several parts. But this is like wrong. This is wrong because it didn't slice the Oblivion ritual into several parts. It sliced the blade into several parts. The blade of anguish into several parts, because her mind was deterred off from it, and once the blade is summoned, it's summoned. It either works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, it'll just get destroyed. So that's essentially what happened. Although Ashley's last-ditch effort to save her, this is a really bad way of saying it, save her loved work. Ugh, I don't like that. The breaking of the deterrent of the ritual caused a momentary backfire from the blade. So as the blade was disintegrating, there was a backfire from the blade that a shard broke off from the blade and struck Ashley, hitting her heart directly. Okay, struck Ashley, hitting her heart. So it's like back and forth, back and forth. Ashley's dying, Katelyn's trying to save her, and then Katelyn starts to kill herself when Ashley wakes up, so Ashley tries to save her, and then as Ashley saves Katelyn, Ashley gets struck again, and then Katelyn's all like, oh shit, worried and shit, right? So it's back and forth, back and forth. But essentially this happens. I forgot what, Unity, right. I have a story for this? I thought I wrote something with this. I'm surprised. Well, anyways, what basically happens here is this is the first time Katelyn actually sees Ashley again alive. And essentially, it's connected to this here. What happened was, here Katelyn is like in awe and is, ready to just sob, and she's just like, I mean, you can see what's happening here. And this is the element of illusion. And before I go on, if anyone's wondering, yes, these two are a lesbian couple, romantically, okay? So I just want to just say that, so get that out of the way, okay? So these two are lesbian for each other romantically, okay? So I just want to say that, get that out of the way. Alright, so now that said, this is the element of illusion. So this is the last thing I did, essentially. So it says, even though the shard pierced Ashley directly in her heart, it seemed to have no effect on her. Noticing this, Katelyn began to panic and fear for Ashley's life once more. And then Ashley says, I'm okay, honey, I'm okay, do not worry. And this is like probably one of the most important like parts of this section of the Narcissus. So she says, "I'm okay, honey. I'm okay. Do not worry." Katelyn says, "But Ash, you were struck by a shard. I don't understand." Ashley says, "I'm fine, Kate. I really am. I did feel something strange, however, when the shard struck." Katelyn says, "What do you mean? What did you feel, hon?" Ashley, as she's sitting down, "Let's sit down together. I'm a bit dizzy right now standing up." Katelyn responds, as she's sitting, "Are you sure you're okay, Ash? What exactly did you experience when the shard struck?" Alright. Ashley says, "Well, I had a fuzzy feeling in my head for a split second, and then I heard a voice." Katelyn says, "A voice? What do you mean?" Ashley responds, "It was really weird. It sounded a bit sinister, but at the same time it sounded graceful, kind of like an angel, but demonic at the same time. It was very creepy. I heard this within my own head, but it was like I had been trapped in a weird realm for a few seconds." Holy shit! That's not good. Katelyn says, "Ash, this isn't good. What did the voice say?" Ashley says, "It spoke in a really weird tone. The only words I could make out were so this quote, this is what the voice said, according to Ashley. "The element of illusion bestowed upon its receiver." So that's what she can make out. And Katelyn's trying not to freak the fuck out, but she's like, okay, this is good and bad. The good news is that shard had essentially, instead of killing Ashley, the shard bestowed the magical powers of illusion to Ashley. So remember when I said Ashley Ashley does not have any magical powers and is mortal and all that. Now she's been bestowed with the magical powers of illusion, just like Loki, okay? The god of mischief. And so, but notice how I said bestow the magical powers of illusion. So Ashley has illusion. She has the powers of illusion, but not immortality. So Ashley has magical powers, but she is not. But she can still die. Okay, so notice that. So the good news is that the shard had bestowed the magical powers of illusion to you. The bad news about this is, what was the voice you heard? Who was it that had the ability to speak to you through your mind like that? Most importantly, though, why? Ashley says, so I can do magic now? Illusion? What does this mean? So Ashley's, most people would be like, holy shit, this is awesome. Ashley's like, more serious about it. Katelyn says, I don't know, honey, but it scares me. This voice that you heard, its tone you described to me, I can sense as an extremely evil force. To be able to speak only to you the way it did, without me able to even sense its presence, is horrifying. So what that means is, think about it for a second. What is Katelyn's magical ability in a general sense? Black magic, right? The dark arts, evil type magic, the bad stuff, right? And if Katelyn is the second to the highest, where Elsa's up here, Catelyn's down here, really close. Considering the fact Katelyn is so high up, she has mastered many things of the dark arts, and she's essentially the second most gifted of everyone else in the universe. Fucking hell. She's the second most gifted, and if you think about it, if her specialty is the dark arts, why was this voice able to speak only to Ashley within her own head without Katelyn being able to hear? And not just that, it's not that she wasn't able to hear, she wasn't even able to sense its presence, that it was even around. So to be able to speak only to Ashley without Katelyn being able to even sense its presence, and remember, Katelyn is very strong with the dark arts, so she can sense presence anytime, but she can't sense this presence. That's why she says, speak only to you, what it did without being able to even sense its presence is horrifying. That's why it's horrifying to her, because she's specializing in this stuff, and she couldn't sense the presence. But she could sense that it was an evil force. But only because Ashley told Katelyn that this was happening. At some point, we need to find out who or what this voice you heard was. What we need to do right now is lay low for a while, sweetie. You have the powers of illusion at the moment. And, quite frankly, Katelyn has the powers of illusion too. Because that's considered a dark art. You have the powers of illusion at the moment. This is a rather neutral power. Technically, it's a neutral power, such that its abilities can be used either for good or evil purposes. However, considering it's an extremely difficult power to get used to, you could very easily use the power to a level you would not be able to physically or mentally handle. And then Ashley responds, what do you mean? You mean if I use it too much without any form of control, I could die? Katelyn says, in short, honey, yes. Well, what would happen to you is actually worse than death. And essentially, what would happen is what I was describing earlier. Essentially, she'd be particleized or what have you. The magic would literally engulf her completely, and who knows really what would happen, But it's worse than death. What would happen is actually worse than death. I'm not trying to scare you, Ash. I'm just afraid for your life. I lost you once, but I won't lose you ever again. I promise you. Alright. That is where I left off. Okay? That is where I left off with the DAZ and stuff, okay? So, long story short, Ashley's back, Katelyn's back. Ashley has been bestowed the magical powers of illusion, but she is still mortal. She can still die. Ashley's hearing this voice that is a very evil presence. This sounds extremely evil, and it's unknown what it is, and essentially they need to find out who. And what I'm going to do is, I'm thinking that my next render will be probably, as far as this goes, my next render is going to be probably training. Katelyn training Ashley how to use her powers of illusion. Okay, mostly defense. So, that is basically that is basically the Narcissus and where we stand right now. Yeah, a lot. Insane amount. So, um, yeah. So that's essentially what's happening with these two characters here, and Elsa's obviously again highest up. Katelin's the next, and Ashley's still unknown. Keisha, I'm gonna look forward to see what I can do with her. I don't know. I don't know if I'll leave it up to you guys. And oh, that's another thing. I'm open to any suggestions. I'm open to any suggestions for progress of the story or the universe or something you might want to see. I'm open to any suggestions with it, as long as you don't ask me to completely revamp the entire fucking thing, because I'm not going to do that. That's too much damn work. You know, and I won't really remove anything either. I would just add more stuff. And I would refrain from killing off any characters too, because I don't like doing that. I probably won't kill any characters off. Most likely. I don't know. Really depends. If I do kill them off, I'll most likely bring them back later. I don't know. That's really iffy. Really iffy. Hate doing that shit though. But anyways, so I'll leave it up to you guys what to do with Keisha. You guys tell me what I should use. Should I use Genesis 3? Because in reality, these are Genesis 3 here. These are both Genesis 3. Should I use Genesis 3 characters? Or should I use Genesis 8? And I haven't used Genesis 8 yet, so I'm kind of itching to try it. But if you guys want me to continue, make Keisha a Genesis 3, I will do that. But if you also want me to make her a Genesis 8, I will do that too. And if you I mean, give a basic description of, what she would look like as far as like, hairstyle, hair color, eye color, and possibly race. It really depends on if I have the correct products for it. If I don't have the right products, it would be very hard to do. So I have a lot of different things I could try, but I'll figure something out. But like hair color, eye color, whatever, long hair, short hair, whatever. I'll leave that up to you for what to do with Keisha. Up to you guys. And if I don't hear anything by the time I decide to actually, create Keisha and make a decision myself, before I figure out what I want her to look like, you guys need to tell me what you want her to look like. And if you don't say anything, then I will just figure something out. Either way. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know, and I will try to make her look the way you guys want. Otherwise, I'll figure something out. Okay? So that's all for this. I'm gonna go take a nap because I'm exhausted doing this for hours, and probably gonna go on DAZ. So, because I've been talking about it for the last hour and a half or so. So, Alright, that's all for this part, folks. No, it was kind of boring, but if anyone is curious about the fanfiction, or the Narcissus, if anyone's curious about the Narcissus, what it is, and all that, and where we are with the story, essentially, that's what this video and the last video was for. I'll have this in its own, I'll have it in its own playlist. Okay, so. Alright, so I'm gonna go take a nap, and see you guys next time.